So I've been working for a long time on return migration and the impact of return migration. So a lot of the literature actually focuses on the impact of migration on host countries. I tend to focus on the impact of migration, especially temporary migration on the country of origin. So I was presenting a paper looking at what happens to return migrants when they come back. Do they actually accumulate human capital? Do they acquire skills overseas? So when they come back, they can move upward in the occupational ladder or not. So what we actually find is that return migrants tend to move upwards. And in a way, this might not be surprising, but our task was actually to try to make sure that we're capturing human capital accumulation, we're capturing skills, as opposed to capturing, the impact of having returnees having certain characteristics, for example, being, more educated or, selective by being more risk takers, etc. So what we do is basically we compare returnees to stayers, but we compare for the same individuals their first job relative to their current job, and we try to see whether they have moved upward or not and the difference between those two groups. And I think this is a nice way of doing it because we're able to actually make sure that we are comparing apples to apples rather than, apples to pears, as they say. So we actually try to look at individuals who've entered, who started the labor, started their work, started their first job in the same decade. So this way we're controlling for labor market conditions. And basically our findings are, there is a positive impact, or, however, the results are actually driven by high-skilled or high-educated workers. So it does seem to be the case that high-educated workers, when they migrate, they acquire or accumulate, enhance their skills. They come back and are able to actually move upward in the occupational ladder. And this is actually very important because this contributes to economic development and economic growth. The story for the low-skilled migrants is slightly different because they have a positive impact, but it's not as significant, it's not as strong. And I think from my previous work, I know that it works slightly different for the low-educated migrants because they tend to actually accumulate savings and come back, set up businesses, set up entrepreneurial activities. So it might appear that they are not gaining as much, but it's a different type of benefit. So actually, we can see that we have different types of benefits from temporary migration. We know very little about return migration. And I think this is a real problem. We've started collecting data on international migration, but we don't know enough about return migration. And I think one very important implication of my work is that we really need to collect data on return migration. It has to be in a systematic way. And it's actually very easy to do if we think about, how important it is by basically including questions regarding return migration in household surveys, labor force surveys, and in censuses. So it wouldn't actually cost us a lot of money to do, but the impact is going to be huge because we basically understand the impact of temporary migration and return migration much, much better.